A lot of the talk right now about the decision President Trump needs to make is whether to bring in U.S. assets to take out a specific facility that is in the mountains, the Fordo facility. Tell us why that facility is so important and what it would mean if the U.S. were to actually take that out.
Well, Fordo is really the linchpin of the Iranian nuclear program. You have roughly 3,000 centrifuges buried about 300 feet underground, encased in very solid cement. And there is no way that Israel can bomb this site into oblivion. They just do not have the munitions to do it. The only munitions that can do it are the 30,000-pound bunker busters, the massive ordnance penetrators that can be carried by a B-2 stealth bomber. And even those, it would take more than one of those to take down a site of this magnitude. It would probably take multiple 30,000-pound bombs. And so the big question now is President Trump going to authorize that airstrike? Now, even if he doesn't do it, Israel has other options, including the possibility of a commando raid, because they now have complete air superiority over Iran.
So it's boots on the ground?
I think Israel could put boots on the ground because, again, they control the skies above Iran, so that gives them tremendous freedom of action. But that would be risky, obviously, and the most surefire way to demolish the site would be to dispatch B-2 stealth bombers. And the question is President Trump going to do that or not?
Yeah. One of the other big questions here, and we alluded to it earlier in the show, is how close really is Iran to a nuclear bomb? There's some dispute between the Israeli intelligence assessment and the U.S. intelligence assessment. But I want to play for you, Max, this clip of just the history of this, of Israeli leaders talking about how close Iran is. Listen.
The deadline for attaining this goal is getting extremely close. And Iran, by the way, is also outpacing Iraq in the development of ballistic missile systems that they hope will reach the eastern seaboard of the United States within 15 years. By next spring, at most, by next summer, at current enrichment rates, they will have finished the medium enrichment and move on to the final stage. From there, it's only a few months, possibly a few weeks, before they get enough enriched uranium for the first bomb. The foremost sponsor of global terrorism could be weeks away from having enough enriched uranium for an entire arsenal of nuclear weapons. That would place a militant Islamic terror regime weeks away from having the fissile material for an entire arsenal of nuclear bombs.
If not stopped, Iran could produce a nuclear weapon in a very short time. It could be a year. It could be within a few months, less than a year.
So all the way back in 1996, it was weeks away, right? So, I mean, the United States' assessment seems to be that's not actually the case. Maybe it's years away. Two questions for you. Which one do you believe? And secondly, if Israel doesn't take out Fordo, for example, has it really damaged Iran's nuclear program as much as it says that it wants to?
Well, as that piece demonstrates, Prime Minister Netanyahu has been very alarmist for a long time about the Iranian nuclear program. And obviously, in hindsight, a lot of that alarm was exaggerated. But I think it is the case that the Iranian nuclear program has accelerated since President Trump's disastrous decision in 2018 to exit the Iranian nuclear accord. At that point, we know that the Iranian breakout time, the amount of time they would take to have enough fissile material for a bomb, was over a year. Now, I think everybody agrees, including U.S. intelligence, it's down to a week or two. I think the question mark is, how long would it take them to actually weaponize that material? And that's, I think, where you have a dispute between the Israelis, who are saying they could weaponize very quickly, and the U.S. intelligence community, which is saying it would take a longer period of time. But I think you're onto a key point here, Abby, which is what happens if the Israelis do not, or the U.S. or somebody does not take out the Fordo site. And the reality is the Iranian nuclear program will pretty much continue despite all the damage that the Iranians are suffering in this Israeli air campaign. So that's why, but keep in mind, even if Fordo is taken out, that doesn't mean that Iran will never be able to get a nuclear weapon, because the know-how, probably a lot of the enriched uranium, all that stuff will remain still in Iranian hands. But clearly, Fordo is a very big deal. And I think what President Trump has to calculate is it worth going after Fordo, given the risk that the Iranians, who have so far been refraining from attacking U.S. bases or shipping in the region, given the risk that they will escalate. And so, you see all these U.S. bases, which are very close to Iran, and in fact, much closer than Israel. And so, Israel is about 1,000 miles from Iran. These bases are much closer, so Iran has a lot more missiles that they can shoot at them. They have drones. They also have the capability to sow mines in the Persian Gulf and the Red Sea. So there's a lot more damage they can probably do even in their weakened state. And so that's what I think President Trump has to balance here. Is it worth the risk of going after Fordo if it means getting the U.S. involved in the middle of these hostilities?
The loudest clock ticking is how long this intensity of conflict can go on. Iran, under greatest pressure, may reach a breaking point first. They're estimated to have had a stockpile of up to 3,000 missiles, between 2,000 and 1,000 of them able to reach Israel.
The best estimate we have is at best a back-of-the-envelope calculation of anywhere between 1,000 to 2,000 medium-range ballistic missiles.
But those stockpiles were challenged before this phase of the conflict. Iran fired about 120 at Israel on the 13th of April 2024, and then another 200 on the 1st of October that year. And in the last 5 days have fired an estimated 380. 700 used in a year, and at very best 1,300 left. Others less optimistic.
Take into consideration that they fired around 400, 500 in the last 4 days, and Israel destroyed some of the arsenal of what they had. I believe they stayed now with 800, 700 and more.
But Israel has claimed success in hitting the missiles' launchers, releasing this graphic of targets, including at least a third, they say, of Iran's surface-to-surface launches.
Israel is trying now not only to hit or to defend the missiles in the air, to intercept them, but also to destroy the vehicles before launching.
Israel has claimed Iran could make 300 ballistic missiles a month, like this Fatah 1, apparently used in the recent attacks. But on October the 26th, 3 waves of retaliatory strikes by Israel hit Iran's air defence and missile production, in which the UK defence chief said only 100 bombs took down nearly the entirety of Iran's air defence system. It has destroyed Iran's ability to produce ballistic missiles for a year, he said.
For the Islamic Republic, quantity has a quality of its own, and having to expend these ballistic missiles during a time of war rather than a time of crisis precisely puts it in this bind.
The mystery number of how many missiles Iran has left, dictating its actions and the outcome of this defining conflict. Nick Payton-Walsh, CNN, London.